Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we've got a spicy one for you. We are playing ENTOOMBSDAY, which is a Tin Fins deck that has a transformational sideboard into Doomsday. So a few weeks back I was playing a league and I played against an opponent who was playing this and I'd not seen it before and it's really cool. So I reached out to them and got the deck list and here we are. So what is Tin Fins? Tin Fins is a reanimated combo deck that aims to put Griselbrand into play using Shallow Grave or Goryo's Vengeance and draw a bunch of cards and then put Emrakul into play as well, all attacking in the same turn and kill your opponent. So this is quite different to the regular red-black reanimated decks. As you can see, we've only got 3 creatures that we're reanimating here and we don't have as many reanimation spells and we don't have as many enablers. We've got our Entombs here and that's pretty much what we're doing. We can Cabal Therapy ourselves if we need to, but that's how we're putting these in. We do have a Consider as well, and we can Thoughtseize ourselves. So there are a few options of getting things in. But we are much more of a blue deck here. We got a load of cantrips here. We've got Ponders, Brainstorms, Preordains, and a Consider. We've got Force of Wills and Dazes to go along with our Thoughtseizes. So we're just trying to sort of play a slight control game and then set ourselves up to do our big explosive payoff. Another card that you might have noticed here is Children of Korlis. So the reason this is here is you play Griselbrand, or you get Griselbrand into play rather. You draw a bunch of cards, then you play a Lotus Petal, play this Children of Korlis, sacrifice it, gain life equals life you've paid for your Griselbrand, and then draw some more cards. And then if you have a reanimation spell, you can then get back your Children of Korlis and do it again. And just keep doing this until you've drawn pretty much your whole deck, then you should be able to put Emrakul into play alongside Griselbrand and finish your opponent off. We've got some other fast mana alongside our Lotus Petals. We've got one Lion's Eye Diamond, which obviously we can crack in response to doing our Griselbrand activations. We can cast a Shallow Grave and then crack a Lion's Eye Diamonds in response to get the Griselbrand into the graveyard, which also gives us mana to cast the spells that come off of the Griselbrand. And we have a Chrome Mox just as another piece that we can use to accelerate ourselves out. The only other card worth talking about here that's a bit unusual is Lim-Dûl's Vault. So this is like a 2-mana Vampiric Tutor pretty much. So you look at the top 5 cards of your library and you put them in any order on top of your library. If you don't like those 5 cards, you pay 1 life, put them on the bottom and look at the next 5. And you can do this as many times as you want. So basically, if you're looking for a card, Lim-Dûl's Vault will find it for you at the cost of some number of life. But it's basically a 2-mana Vampiric Tutor, which is, for the purposes of what we're trying to do here, makes sense because we just need to do our one thing and get there. So that's the main deck. Our mana base is load of fetch lands, 1 of each basic, and some underground seas. Pretty light on the lands because we're trying to go turbo here. We just want to make sure we have an island so we can cast all our cantrips before we go off. And that's pretty much it. We also have 1 Scrubland, which is just in case we want to cast this Children of Korlis with a land. And that's basically what that's for. Okay, so that's the sort of the main deck. So this is the plan that revolves around your graveyard. So it's quite susceptible to things like Leyline in the Void and such like. So in the post-board games, we transform. And we transform into Doomsday. So if you're unfamiliar with Doomsday, it's this card here. So you basically replace your library with 5 cards from your library. And in the order you choose. And that's usually good enough to let you win the game. Now we already have a lot of the things that are good with Doomsday. So cantrips are things that are essential to Doomsday, as are some of our reanimation, our permission spells here, and obviously fast mana. So all these things are stuff that are good in Doomsday decks anyway. Same with the Dark Ritual because that lets us power out of Doomsday. And then we just got the other pieces we need here. So we have a Cavern of Souls, which we put on Merfolk or Wizard, so we can play our Thassa's Oracle when our library doesn't have very many cards in after we've Doomsdayed, and this will just automatically win us the game without ever using the graveyard. We've got 2 Street Wraith and an Edge of Autumn, so we've got some cyclers. The reason I think we have more Street Wraiths here is because we can also reanimate these off of a Shallow Grave if we need to, and obviously we don't necessarily want to be sacking our lands when we're quite light on them. Then we have the Shelldock Isle. So this is what Doomsday used to play. So what you do is you play your Doomsday, you do your Doomsday and put like a Shelldock Isle on top. Then you play your Shelldock Isle, which then puts a card from the top 4 underneath it. For us, that's probably going to be something like an Emrakul. And then the next turn, you can activate this and immediately go off with your Emrakul. Now, we can put Thassa's Oracle in there. We have 2 Thassa's Oracles, so we can sort of double up here. So that's something we can do. Then we have 2 Personal Tutors as well. So this is just to help us turbo out the Doomsday and find it. That's all that's for. And then we've got a few cards. So basically we only have space for 2 cards here to interact with what our opponent's doing from our transformation. So we've got 1 Flusterstorm, 1 Echoing Truth. So basically our plan is to win game 1 because we're a powerful, relatively linear strategy. And then game 2, we swap into a different powerful linear strategy and win the game that way because our opponent's going to have a load of hate pieces that don't interact with what we're doing here. So we can kind of just sidestep all those pieces so we don't need the sideboard cards. The problem comes when we hit game 3, when our opponent has seen both halves of our deck and presumably beaten one of those halves. Now our opponent has to work out what they're keeping in, but we also have to work out our configuration. So it's going to be a little bit tricky to navigate this one since I've not played it before, but I think it should be an interesting, fun one. And I haven't really played much in the way of transformational sideboards on the channel, so it'd be quite nice to showcase a deck that has an incredibly transformational sideboard here. And maybe if we get some time, I'll explain the origins of the deck name Tin Fins as well. All right, so before we jump into League, let me just say like, comment, subscribe. These are free ways to help my channel. If you want to financially help my channel, you can become a member of the channel, or you can give me like the super thanks button on YouTube. And I'm currently working on a Patreon that should hopefully be up in like a week or so, where I'm going to have some extra stuff on there, including a very detailed guide to the green-black depths deck, which you see me play on my channel quite often. But yeah, I think that's enough. Let's jump into a league with Entombsday. It's round 1. We're on the play. Our opponent is showing a 61 card deck, which means we could be looking at something along the lines of Oops All Spells, or it could be that elf deck that plays 61, or I did play against a Tundra deck that had 61 the other day as well. But our hand fights against that with Force of Will Ponder, so I think we'll keep this. Now, the question here is, if we ponder here and don't find a blue card, our Force of Will is very bad. Are we supposed to do this? I think because we're a proactive deck, we want to ponder here. We're looking for a blue card and a payoff. So maybe this is a little bit greedy, but if our opponent isn't Oops All Spells, then we'll probably be grateful for this ponder finding us some business. Okay, this is business. So we'll put this Underground Sea on top, and this ponder, and this Brainstorm. We'll say no to the shuffle. We'll draw the Brainstorm. Then we'll play out this Lotus Petal now, just in case our opponent is something else and they play Trinisphere or something weird. At least it's in play. So we're just looking for the Shallow Grave now, and then we can dumpster our opponent. Okay, so it's a Tundra deck. Interesting. So now we have a ponder here. We know the top card of our library already. I think we still fire off this Brainstorm now. We're looking for a fetch land, ideally. We did not find a fetch land. We did find a Thoughtseize, though. This Griselbrand isn't really what we want right now. Neither is the Emrakul. So I guess we're putting these 2 on top. Which would I rather have? I think I'd rather have the Griselbrand that we can draw next turn, then we can shuffle away with a ponder if we want to, or we've got a selection of options here. I definitely want to Thoughtseize our opponent, but do we want to Entomb? Entomb's not really going to help here. We can put a Griselbrand in for later, but that's not really how we roll. I think we're just going to Thoughtseize our opponent and draw the Griselbrand next turn. We're getting a Force of Will. Okay. That makes me think our opponent is on a combo deck like Breakfast. We do need to show our opponent some graveyard stuff before we go to the next game to make sure that we're more likely to get there with our Doomsday, which is kind of an interesting one. Okay, so we're in an interesting situation here. Any order and shuffle. A Preordain. Sure, let's cast this. Goryo's Vengeance is one of the cards we need. We also don't really mind this Polluted Delta. And we'll put this Polluted Delta on top. Just so we can deploy our land now. We're not going to crack this. We want this Goryo's Vengeance. What is our opponent doing? A Brainstorm with fetch land. Okay, so we are shields down with our Force of Will right now, which isn't ideal for us. So maybe we're supposed to wait a little bit longer. But we know the next card we're drawing isn't the blue card because it's the Goryo's Vengeance. So then what? Alright. So we're going to draw our Goryo's Vengeance. So what we can do is we can entomb Goryo's Vengeance in our opponent's end step. And then we'll have it for our turn. We do have Force of Will up now, though. We can Dark Ritual into Force of Will here. An Ice Fang. We don't care about Ice Fang. So our opponent plays something like a natural order here. We're incentivized to try and push some action. So if we can draw a land next turn, we could Force of Will. So we could do the Entomb now, holding up Force of Will. And then the next turn, if we draw a land, we can Force of Will or a blue card. What's our opponent doing in their second main? A ponder, sure. That's not too bad. They chose not to shuffle off their last ponder, so they're just working through those cards. They chose not to shuffle again. So I think our opponent's a Daze deck, probably not. We're going to fire off this Entomb now, so we can still Force of Will here if this goes wrong. Alright, let's put a Griselbrand into the graveyard. If we draw a land or a blue card, we can Goryo's Vengeance with Force of Will up. Okay, so we're going to crack our lands first. So we'll go and get ourselves an Underground Sea. And this one can go and get us a swamp. Let's cast this Dark Ritual. Let's try and Goryo's Vengeance. I imagine this is going to get some action from our opponents, and hopefully our Force of Will is going to be enough. We can't just let our opponents sculpt forever. I think doing our combo with one layer of protection is good enough here. Endurance. Okay. And we have to cast this here. Let's try and Force of Will this. Alright, we're getting Force of Will back here. Alright, so we're down to nothing. Bit awkward, but the Doomsday plan is probably going to be quite effective here, I would imagine. Alright. A Mystic Sanctuary would help us rebuy a Goryo's Vengeance. If we have one on our deck, we don't, and I don't think we should have one, but it's just an interesting point to note. So we have one layer of protection, our opponent had two forms of interaction. I don't think we can just wait there for more, especially since our opponent is the one with the higher grip of cards in hand there. Yeah, our opponent's found a lot of cantrips there. Like, we have a decent amount of cantrips, to be fair. But our opponent's looking for more generic things, and we're looking for more specific, so their brainstorms are going to be, on average, finding them what they want more than ours are. Whereas we need very specific cards. Our opponent does actually have to win the game here, though. Thoughtseize, I think we keep that back until the turn we're trying to go off. So we're looking for Goryo's Vengeance. This could always be an enabler for us. So we need to find like an Entomb and a Shallow Grave. And then we're okay, I think. Some of these Tin Fins builds used to run Tendrils of Agony in as a way of just storming your opponent out. But I think you don't necessarily need that if you're just going to be comboing them off with Griselbrand and Emrakul. It just meant you could beat things like Ensnaring Bridge. But we have a Doomsday sideboard pivot for that anyway. What's this? An Uro. Okay, our opponent's found a proper win condition. So they're going to start pulling ahead in a big way here. Now, if they have one piece of interaction, we can punch a hole in that with the Thoughtseize when the time comes. So next time they're probably going to be casting their Uro. A Shallow Grave. So, if our opponent has a counterspell now, we're done for. Do we think our opponent drawing two cards next turn, is this spot the best spot we have or not, is the question. Because we would need to very specifically draw another Thought. I think we're supposed to Thoughtseize ourselves here. And if they have it, they get us. If they get us, they get us. That's how it is here. Black, black. Oh, we're in. Let's draw 7 cards. Alrighty then. What are we doing here? So we're going to need to Preordain or Brainstorm here. Then we'll cast a Brainstorm. We don't have a way of discarding this Emrakul apart from discarding end of turn. Which does kind of work for what we're trying to attempt here. So what are we putting back? That's a good question here. So we can keep this. Haven't played a land yet, so we'll keep all of our mana sources available. That's probably better than... Oh, we can... If we put the Emrakul back here, we can just Entomb, right? So we put this on top of our library. And we don't need the Preordain here, so that can go. We can play a land out. Play this Lotus Petal out. Crack this for a black source. Sure. Put this for black. Cast that ritual. Cast an Entomb. Put our Emrakul into the graveyard. Okay, so we put the Emrakul into graveyard. The trigger goes on the stack to shuffle in. Then we Goryo's Vengeance it out. And we bash our opponent for 22. Cool. We got there in the end. So that's pretty cool. So I think we are just going to transform. Now, I don't quite know how we're supposed to transform. So that's going to be an interesting one to work out, isn't it? So we definitely want these Thassa's Oracles. And we want these cards. So all of this is like the standard package. So this is 13 cards. So we need to do a little bit of maths here. So how many is this? So that's 6. This is 7, 8. How useful is Cabal Therapy here? I don't think Cabal Therapy is that useful. The Children of Korlis can go. This can go. These two go. And the Cabal Therapy. That's a very clean 13 for 13 there. We got these 2 Entombs actually that we don't particularly need. Which can become these 2. So we're just doing a straight 15 card swap here. And seeing how it goes. Because Lim-Dûl's Vault can combo us off. So yeah. Let's try and get them with the Transformational sideboard. Oh, it's been a long time since I played a Transformational sideboard deck. So what does this hand do? We've got some cantripping here. Off of a basic island as well, which is quite nice. I think we can settle in for this one a little bit. Our opponent is not clocking us quickly. And they're probably going to have a bunch of graveyard hate that we don't really care about. We do have this Echoing Truth if something requires it. Our opponent's deck definitely has the potential to play Wastelands in. Which is why I'm going to go get a basic island here. And then we're going to cast a Ponder. Not really sure we want this Thassa's Oracle right now. I think we'll just put any order and shuffle. A Marsh Flats. Okay, that's good. That means for our Brainstorm we can fetch away. We're just looking for Doomsday. Ideally, we'll need some sort of Thoughtseize to try and push it through, or one of our counter spells. But these are options we have. What's our opponent going to play here? Just a Noble Hierarch. Okay. That means our opponent might be more on the like natural order plan. Okay, so we have a Thoughtseize, so that's good. So I think we Brainstorm now, because we can Brainstorm. If we find it, we can fetch and do all sorts of stuff. Okay, so we've got a Personal Tutor. That's pretty good. We don't need this Thassa's Oracle right now. The fetch land is useful. The Echoing Truth is probably not where we want to be right now. So we will... Do we play this now? Or do we punch through a hole first? I think we're supposed to punch a hole next turn. It does slow us down, but we kind of need this Personal Tutor to resolve. So I think we're going to leave it for next turn, and then we're going to shuffle away the cards anyway, and then we're going to Thoughtseize our opponent and then resolve a Personal Tutor. Right, our opponent's got Ponder. We also have the option of Brainstorming next turn alongside this. So we can probably Brainstorm first, because that might change what we want to try and accomplish. We might not need the Personal Tutor, for example. Right, we're going to take one from this Hierarch while they're playing a spell. Right, we'll crack this. Go and get ourselves an Underground Sea. And then go to... Alright, so I think we start out on a Brainstorm off of the island. Okay, so we've got loads of layers of protection here. We can put back this Swamp. We can put back... I guess we put back the Cavern because we're going to just put the Cavern in our pile later on anyway. So that goes there. We can play this out. We can crack this for another Underground Sea. We can try a Thoughtseize out on our opponent here. Veil of Summer. Interesting. Interesting. Let's try and cast a Personal Tutor. Alright, we'll put Doomsday on top of our library. And then pass. So we already have one of our lands. So we should be able to strip through the pile pretty immediately. We have a Daze. So that's a little bit of protection, but our opponent has a lot of mana up. Because they've got Hierarch already. So if they're tapping out here for something alluring. Let's say no to alluring. They have a Force of Will here with an Ice Fang. Sure. How bad is this going to be for us? Do they have the kill right now? There's an Ice Fang. Sure. Alright, they didn't have it. Interesting. So, do we need to Preordain first? I think that's not necessary. I think we'll cast this... Okay, they're F6'd. So we will put a Doomsday on the stack here. So, we would like a... what do we need? Where is our Thassa's Oracle? That's step 1. So we'll have one Thassa's Oracle, which is free to cast right now because of Alluring, which is pretty good. So we can have a Thassa's Oracle here, maybe another Thassa's Oracle. We don't have any other creatures that we want to get here. Then we'll just do Cyclers, I guess. We can... No, we'll just get the Cyclers in here. And we can probably put in a Thoughtseize here. Just trying to think how much mana we've got. Yeah, because we don't need to actually cast our spell. We can just Thoughtseize here. So, we will put... so we click done. These are the ones we want. And then we put the Thassa's Oracle on the bottom. Then the other Thassa's Oracle. And then 2 Street Wraiths. Yes. Street Wraith, and the Thoughtseize. And play this out. We will add black and add blue. We will cycle this into the Thoughtseize. We will Thoughtseize our opponent. Minor misstep. So neither of these do anything. Sure, good to know. And then we will cast this Preordain. So we will put these on top and draw one. We will cycle this. We will cycle this. We will cast this for free with Alluring. Boom. Excellent. So we got the Duke there. Now I don't think our opponent's hand, what they had there didn't really matter for what we were doing. They had removal, which we kind of ignore by going the Doomsday route, which is quite handy. The Veil of Summer's just a nice tech all round for us because it blanks our counter spells and our discard stuff. But we got to win with both Doomsday and Tin Fins, so pretty good. Let's go to round 2. We're on the play for round 2, which is a pretty good place to be. So our hand requires one thing to be good, and we have 2 cantrips here, and we have a Force of Will. So I think we can keep this. I think we probably start out on the Polluted Delta with the intention of not actually using it. This means that we can't be wastelanded on the first turn cycle. We don't really need to cast a Brainstorm right now. We'd rather cast with a fetch hand anyway. But we're playing the fetch hand out first. It means we can't be wastelanded in the first turn cycle. Misty Rainforest. Are we on some sort of similar thing to last time? Oh no, our opponent's doing devious things too. Dark Ritual. Is this Doomsday? Alright, let's let them cast their Doomsday and then try and force a... Oh, they're doing a Thoughtseize here, aren't they? Right, you can Thoughtseize us here. And take the Force. Yeah. So we've got 2 more mana here. So we might be forced to actually use this Brainstorm, which is not really what I want. I'm going to Thoughtseize us again. Sure. Losing a Brainstorm. And another Dark Ritual. I guess we have to assume that our opponent can kill us here. So I think we're just going to cast a Brainstorm, see if we can find Daze or Forcible blue card. Daze is more likely here because we need multiple stuff. So our opponent got a Daze to follow this up with. They do not. We have a turn to kill here. So I guess we put the... just want this Petal. So we'll put this C on top and then the Entomb. Because if they don't kill us this turn and they do another Thoughtseize, the thing they're most likely to hit is our Consider, I reckon. Doomsday. Sure. If this is a pass the turn line, we can win the game. I hope it's a pass the turn line. They've had double Thoughtseize, double Dark Ritual. If they've got the cantrip as well, then this is what we would describe as an unbeatable hand. I would have had to have turn 1'd them. Obviously, they could still have some counter spells of their own, but there's nothing we can do about that. We have a plan that wins the game next turn. Well, not necessarily. Actually, how much they're going to go down to? They're going to lose 8 life, which is going to put them to 7. So we have the kill quite easily next turn. Let's see what's in their pile. Dark Ritual, Street Wraith. So no Lion's Eye Diamond. So that's pretty good news for us, I think. That probably means a pass a turn line. There's 1 Edge of Autumn. Couple of Street Wraiths. Okay, so our opponent's passing a turn here. So we got a chance. Let's Entomb. Street Wraith being cycled here. Not a big fan of that. That usually means bad things for us. Because they know what the card is, so they're obviously... let's cast a Consider in response. We could find a Daze here. So we'll put this into our graveyard. We found a Force of Will that we can't cast. Okay. Right. 1 less Thoughtseize and we would have been able to be alright there. So our opponent doing a pass turn line here. Okay, we have a Daze and a Force of Will. It's not getting any better for us here. Our opponent's just probably got a natural... They've just done a pile they can naturally draw into Oracle with. Edge of Autumn being cycled, yep. Street Wraith being cycled, yep. There's that one. We have no recourse. Sure. Alright, our opponent's probably going to board in the ley lines, which have become increasingly common in Doomsday. So I think we're just going to go for the full package here. So we get rid of those. Get rid of these. This does make game 3 very difficult, but we'll worry about game 3 if we get there. Get rid of our Entombs. Get rid of our Children of Korlis. And it's the Cabal Therapy. Well, the Cabal Therapy is okay in this matchup, because we have things that we want to name. We're trying to hit the very specific cards from our opponent. Is this better than any of the things we're already playing? I guess we can leave it in over Preordain. I don't know. No, let's not do that. I think let's just run it like this and see if we can blank a load of cards in their hand by transforming. And then who knows what we're doing for game 3 if we get there. Our opponent is very favoured by being on the play for game 3 though, if there is one. Right, yes, I'd like to play. Our hand was pretty good, but our opponent's hand was better. Alright, this is an interesting hand. We will keep this hand. Let's cast that ritual. Let's cast a Doomsday. They have to Force of Will this because they don't have the ability to Daze right now. Right, they're looking for a blue card or a Force of Will here. Alright. Now we have to do a Doomsday pile. So we need the Cavern. We need... Do we need a Thassa's Oracle? We already have a Thassa's Oracle. We could put one on the bottom in case something goes wrong here. But I'm not sure if that's something we need to do. So we have a Preordain. So we have +1 card if we can get blue mana. Well, these are the piles that are slightly difficult to make from someone who doesn't play Doomsday a lot. Let's make our thing bigger to make our life a little bit easier. So we're going to want some cyclers. And I think we want an island in case something goes wrong here. Where's our island? Alright. So we can do this. Or we can... so this is just a fine pile, right? And I think we say done here. So put the island on the bottom, then the cavern, then a bunch of cyclers. Alright. We do get beaten here by... Oh, I've made a mistake here. We get beaten by Thoughtseize really hard here. I've made a huge mistake with this pile. The bottom card's supposed to be another... No, it can't be Thassa's Oracle. So we're supposed to have Thassa's Oracle in our pile. Yeah, I've made a mistake here. Please don't Thoughtseize us, opponent. Please don't do that. A Ponder. Okay, we might be dodging my mistake. Now, they could have a Petal. Okay, we've dodged here. I'll take it. So we go cycle for 2 life. Cycle for 2 life. Tap this for blue. Cycle cracking this. Play Cavern. Then Wizard. Cast this uncounterably. My friend's got Snuff Out we can lose here actually. But I doubt they'd have had Snuff Out. Alright. So we got them with the Juke. Now what are we supposed to do game 3? This is the thing that I didn't really know what to do. Are we supposed to like split our stuff here? Maybe like take out this Echoing Truth. And what? How many are we supposed to fit all these cards in, right? It would trim a Lim-Dûl's Vault. And a couple of Preordains. I guess this game's not going to go long. So we want Entomb. And Shallow Graves. And these 2 guys. That's 61 cards. Maybe we'll trim in some Ponders here. Maybe a Chrome Mox. I don't really want that card at disadvantage here. So we need another Entomb. This just feels like too many cards. Yeah, I don't really know what we're supposed to do here. Do we just go back to the A game? Although it was the Doomsday plan that won. Have these in. And the Ponder. Bring this back. Have a Cabal Therapy instead of an Echoing Truth, I think. And we'll keep this Lim-Dûl's Vault. Well, on the play, though, if we do our thing, it's just way better, right? Maybe we go back to the original plan here. These Personal Tutors, get out of here. So if these go, we get these back in. Lim-Dûl's Vault and all these. Because if our opponent... We can kill our opponent on turn 1. this way, but we can't the other way. So what am I missing here that needs to come out? The Doomsdays are still in. Don't want those. And ponder, consider, tomb, Thoughtseize, Children of Korlis. The Flusterstorm still in there, which we definitely need to keep in. So we'll take out one of the Preordains for that. I guess we'll take out these cards here. We'll submit this. We have a Force of Will we can't cast, so I think we're just going to mulligan this. This is a turn 3, which is a bit slow, but I think we'll keep this and we'll bottom one of our lands. We do have some interaction. Why did I bottom a land? I could have bottomed a Griselbrand. I guess we might want to... Okay, so we've lost a game, I think. Feels like we've lost a game because they've kept in these ley lines. So our Juke backed has failed spectacularly. Let's have a look at our sideboard. Let's see. So our Echoing Truth is neatly nestled in there. So I guess we were supposed to stick with the Doomsday plan because at least we can tutor for some options. So what are we doing now? So we are looking at... we've still got the Cavern and the Shelldock Isle in our deck because I rushed what we were doing there. All right, so we're trying to Shelldock Isle one of our scary guys. And then, okay, so we're going to get Thoughtseized here. We're going to take our Thoughtseized. This game's over. I've sideboarded horribly in this final game. All right. That's not a terrible draw. So what we need to do here is Shelldock Isle, an Emrakul on top of our library, or a Griselbrand. And then when our opponent Doomsdays, we get to cast that spell for free because of how Shelldock Isle's worded. It's if any player's library, because the idea was you're supposed to mill with it, I believe. So we do have an out to this. But the other out we have is just drawing enough mana sources to Dark Ritual a Griselbrand into prey, which is a ridiculous thing to say, but alright. We have definitely sideboarded wrong. Duress. Sure. Goodbye, Force of Will. Alright, let's keep trucking here. A Cabal Therapy. Our opponent hasn't done a great deal yet. So I'm curious what's in their hand. If I was to Cabal Therapy them now, what would I name? I don't think I name anything yet. We'd probably use it as a way of pushing through something later on. But we are very, very cold in this game right now. We need to find our Brainstorms and Ponders. Just Dark Ritual. Another Thoughtseize, sure. We're going to lose here. Cabal Therapy or Dark Ritual. They could take our Griselbrand out, just so we have less things here. Sure, they're taking our Disruption. Understood. A Lion's Eye Diamond. We can play this and we can do some shenanigans. Obviously not with a Leyline the Void in play, but we can, if we know what the top card of our library is, we can cast a draw spell and then crack the Lion's Eye Diamond. So maybe we can do if we draw a couple of cantrips, we might be able to put a Griselbrand on the stack. Now our opponent clearly has something that's going to be pretty useful. They're not playing cantrips. Our opponent's inquiring about the deck. Yeah, our opponent's just saying that they kept their ley lines in because they figured if we pivoted back, they only had 2 ley lines anyway. Okay. I would very much like to cast this Brainstorm. I do not want these Shallow Graves in our hand. Yeah. Our opponent has correctly identified that we have 2 blanks in our hand. So, what do they pitch to that one? A Force of Will, sure. A Dark Ritual. A Shoulder of the Apocalypse. Okay, so they have a little transformation as well. Now, this isn't a big transformation, but... Okay, a Lotus Petal. So we got 3, 4, 5 mana right now. Obviously, Griselbrand, not great versus the old Shoulder, as it turns out. But it does beat for 7 lifelink, and our opponent probably can't remove it. Unless they have a bounce spell. Now, they're probably just going to counter it, but that's nothing we can do about that. Our cantrips have gotten significantly worse in the face of Shouldered as well. So, how are we going to win this game? Probably not like that. So, we got 2 turns left, and then we can scoop this up and go to round 3. So, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, if we draw exactly Dark Ritual land in the next 2 steps, we can make the Griselbrand, which means they won't be able to attack. Is that right? If we draw the Griselbrand? No, so we got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, we're still 1 shy, actually. We're just dead here, right? What are we looking at? A shallow grave. Good times. Good times. Yeah, we got nothing. Yeah, I pretty much lost that game myself with my sideboarding, I think. We needed to stay on the Doomsday plan a little bit. Maybe we keep in some number of stuff. I'm not sure what the half and half plan is. When I played against somebody on this deck, they had a half and half plan where they still had Doomsday and the stuff. And I just don't know what the configuration for that is. And I panicked a little bit because I was running out of time. So we are 1-1, and I think we defeat ourselves. Now, that's not to say that we would beat our opponent's triple Thoughtseize hand. Triple Thoughtseize Force of Negation, we're probably losing that game anyway, to be fair. But we did sideboard wrong to give ourselves no chance whatsoever. All right, let's go to round 3. Want a die roll, but we have no mana sources. Let's mulligan. What does our hand do here? We're pretty all in on this Brainstorm, but we only need to find land. So I think we'll keep this one and we'll ship the Children of Korlis. And we'll play an Underground Sea and hold up the Brainstorm here. No waste time from opponent, which is good. A Ponder. Big fan of this Ponder. Yes, I would like these cards, please. So we'll put Delta, Delta, C, because we need some lands. Let's not shuffle. Let's draw this C and play it. So we can end a turn, cast the Entomb, depending on what our opponent does. If we don't want to cast lots of spells on our turn, in case our opponent has like a Force of Negation, some control decks have 2 Force of Negation main deck. Alternatively, we could keep sculpting till we find some more permission. I think we'll pass. If our opponent taps out for something, then we can play the Entomb. Like, our combo just kills them. It's not as if we need to do it early necessarily. We just need to do it. And we've been doing more sculpting than our opponent has. So that's a good sign. Or a terrible sign, I guess. Our opponent's hand might just be completely stacked. They don't need to sculpt. They got these ponders. They got like a couple of ponders that they don't need because all the rest of their cards are great. They just save them for their blue cards. All right, we've got action in our opponent's second main phase. What are we looking at here? A Narset Parter of Veils. Let's cast an Entomb here. Okay, so we've got a Force of Will on this. I think we fight back. Let's put big Griselbrand in there. And then we will cast this Brainstorm. Yeah, this seems like a good place for us to be. So we'll put this on the bottom, and then this. We don't really want that Brainstorm. So let's see what our opponent finds off the Narset. Another Narset. Understood opponent. So they didn't have another Force of Will. So I think we just fire up this Shallow Grave here. If this doesn't work, we have another one. Right, so we go to attack the Narset. And we should be able to win the game from here, I think. We can't draw the cards until the Narset's dead. But now we have loads of life to play around with. Okay, let's crack this. For Underground Sea. I don't think we actually need to do that, do we? Let's go for Dark Ritual here. Let's Cabal Therapy, target our opponent. We're going to name this Narset, I think. Since we know it's there. And then we can sacrifice our Griselbrand in a minute anyway. And we've got Shallow Grave. Wait, no, this Shallow Grave is... Yeah, so this will be in our graveyard, so we can Shallow Grave it back next turn for the kill. Sure, so we get the Narset here. And... Oh, wait. Okay, so they've revealed Narset, the Wandering Emperor, Prismatic Ending, Swords to Plowshares, Daze Undoing. So a bunch of stuff that we don't really care about. So let's draw some more cards. And I think we play this out. And we'll put in a Preordain. And we'll cast a Brainstorm. So we have Thoughtseize. I like this. And we've got some lands we don't really care about, but we're going to be discarding them anyway. So I guess we'll put these on top of our library. And we will Thoughtseize our opponent. What do we want to take here? They're only going to have one spell here. I guess we take the Daze Undoing here. I guess if they get land, they can Wandering Emperor away. We can just get rid of the Wandering Emperor in a second. So we'll get rid of the Daze Undoing. And then we will flashback Cabal Therapy, targeting our opponent. Sacrifice the Griselbrand. We'll name the Wandering Emperor. The Wandering Emperor kills... the Wandering Emperor can kill an Emrakul. That's why we got rid of it. So now the top card of our library. Got loads of blue cards here. Let's play this. We do have a Scrubland on top of our library that we can find. We don't need to do this yet. We want to do it next turn. So that's the end of our turn. We've got Force of Will, blue card. And then next turn we can just Emrakul our opponent up. So let's get rid of some fetch lands. Any order. We actually have a card that cares about the order of graveyards, but it's not actually relevant for the most part, because one of the creatures we have just shuffles our library anyway. Let's crack this for a Scrubland. So that ritual. Let's cast Entomb. Let's put an Emrakul into the graveyard. Let's cast this. Goodbye all of your permanents, opponent. Sure. And then we can eventually win because we're like, they're not going to have any permanents. They're going to be on 2 life. And it's not going to take us anything there. All right. So our opponent's probably going to be on graveyard hate and stuff. So this is a good opportunity for us to transition to the other plan. Goodbye, Children of Korlis. That's 14 cards. And no, there's the other one. There's 15. So there's 15. And then we bring in these 15. Simple. Let's see if there's any good. Hopefully you can win this one. Otherwise, we're in that horrible situation again of knowing what the sideboard plan is. Maybe we can try and work out now with a bit of time we have. So how many of these bits do we need and how many of the... I guess we can have some Doomsdays. We don't necessarily need the Personal Tutors. We don't need 2 Oracles. We can maybe have 1, 2, 3... 1, 2, 3... It's hard to find more slots to try and board in these other things, really. Maybe the Echoing Truth can go. That's 4. But we need so many cards for our Griselbrand combo. Maybe we can be trimming away some of our mana a little bit. So maybe Chrome Mox can go. That's 5 cards. So realistically, how many do we need here? So we need 4, 5. So we probably need 4 Entomb, right? And 4 Shadow Graves. That's 8. And then 9, 10 is probably enough. So we'd have to find 10 slots for this. That'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then maybe cut some cantrips or the Dazes. Yeah, I think it's doable to have like 10 cards in from our reanimator package. Maybe we'll try that if this goes wrong. Hopefully it won't. So we'll never have to work out how to sideboard properly. Our opening hand doesn't really play, so you just need to mulligan this one. We're going to be relying a lot on this Ponder here. But I think we can keep this one and throw back the Echoing Truth here. Maybe we're supposed to throw back the Oracle, especially if our opponent has a Surgical Extraction. They can, if our Oracle hits a bin for some reason, then we're in trouble. So I think we're going to go and get ourselves a basic island, just in case our opponent's got some sort of wasteland shenanigans here. I'm going to cast a Ponder. We're looking for mana sources. We have found some mana sources. So Vault on the bottom, and then Dark Ritual. And that one. So we'll not shuffle our library. And then we'll get the land next turn. And then we can put a Doomsday on the stack. And if the Doomsday doesn't work, we can then put a Personal Tutor on the stack. So we've got 2 bites of the cherry there. Go here. Staff of Storyteller. Rest in peace. Excellent. This does not affect us. And it means that they can't surgically extract anything of ours, which is also nice. Right, so we'll play out Lotus Petal. We'll play out this Polluted Delta. We'll go and find ourselves a swamp to play on, I think. No, it should be an underground sea, right? We need blue. Let's cast a Dark Ritual. And if this goes wrong, we're going to need more black mana. Let's cast a Doomsday. You got Force of Will over there, opponent? Force of Negation. Sure. Let's cast a Personal Tutor. Did they pitch? Force of Negation. Sure. So we will put a Doomsday on top of our library. And then we'll pass. So the other way we could have done that is Personal Tutored first and then put a Thoughtseize on top and then try and punch a hole with that. But I think this is just better. We got 2 cards out of it. And the thing we're going to hit is going to be a counter spell anyway. So I think our opponent is a little bit under the gun here. But there's definitely ways this can go wrong for us. Teferi or Narset are a pretty good start. There's the Narset, sure. Now we can just do a casual draw pile here. Force of Will has entered the exile zone. Ah, opponent, why are you going to play me like that? We can't cast this Brainstorm because of our opponent. I guess we're going to cast the Thassa's Oracle. We have a second Thassa's Oracle, so this is fine. This lets us scry, and it also pressures the Narset, so then minus the Narset we get to at least attack. The Force of Will I'm interested in. So I guess we'll put... we just choose one of these, don't we? Put the Force of Will on top. So we're trying to attack down this Narset for a couple of turns. And then we'll try and put a Doomsday on the stack maybe. Or if we can get rid of the Narset, we might be able to cast a Brainstorm at some point. It shows another counter spell then. Alright. That's another counter spell, isn't it? A Teferi. Sure, they're going to bounce our Thassa's Oracle. Or they're going to bounce their own Narset. I think they should bounce their own Narset there, to be honest. But there we go. So our Force of Wills are switched off right now. So let's just cast this again. What have we got here? A Force of Will and a Polluted Delta. We will not put any of these on top of our library. We are looking for Thoughtseize, I think is probably where we want to be going. And we also need black mana. So let's try and get this Narset off the board. And then we can keep the Teferi at bay. Our Force of Will isn't doing anything while Teferi's in play. I think the Narset is more important to have in play against Doomsday than a Teferi because it makes it very hard for us to get through our pile, which is why I think they should have gone the other way. Okay, let's go to attacks. Let's see if we can kill this Narset. A whole Breacher that we can't counterspell. Alright, things are going to get very bad for us very quickly. So that gets killed. Our opponent's got a whole bunch of stuff over here. Not sure how we win this one. Yep. It's going to ES up pretty bad. Okay, they haven't at least done a whole whirly jigger. We know they have 2 counter spells. We can't just throw away our stuff here. We need to find a way of impacting this game with what's in our hand. We can't just use them as very expensive discard spells. So we've already gone through a Doomsday. So that'll be 2 Doomsdays down. And we can't really win without a Doomsday. A Narset Part of Veils. Sure. Wonder how we're supposed to win this game. If they do like a Daze Undoing, I think we just scoop and not bother wasting our time. A Pyroblast. That's not so bad, I guess. We'll get to see more of our opponent's deck. Okay, so we've got another black source. That's nice, I guess. So they've got our draw effects completely shut off here. And we've got our counterspell shut off. Alright, so they've got Brainstorm. As soon as they show us like a Daze Undoing type thing, then I'm happy to scoop. But we've got a few turns of that still. It's not going to take them long to kill us here. A Shelldock Isle. That's not the one, is it? We need our opponent's library to have no cards in before we play that one, really. We could play it out because it lets us hardcast Force of Will, but hardcasting Force of Will doesn't do anything. And I'd rather not show my opponent's Shelldock Isle, just in case that's some information that they weren't expecting. Alright. What are you doing, opponent? Bashing us for 3. We've got so many cards in hand that if they did like a Daze Undoing, it'd be so brutal. They can do it in our turn to stop us drawing any cards as well and just blank our whole turn, right? An Edge of Autumn. It's not the one, is it? I'm not really sure what we're expecting this next draw step to be that means we get to keep playing this game, but we might see some more cards from our opponent here. We got nothing. Alright, so I was talking about the various plans that we can have here. So I was saying we have 4 Shadow Grave, 1 Griselbrand, 1 Emrakul, 4 Entomb. That's 10 cards. So we can get rid of 1 Thassa's Oracle, the 2 Personal Tutors. I think we still want the Shelldock Isle and we want the Cavern. We get rid of a Chrome Mox. It's not very useful here. I don't think... Do we want the Echoing Truth? I guess we need to keep an Echoing Truth here. I don't think Daze is actually going to be that useful here. I want to keep our Disruption. Maybe we'll trim a couple of Preordain. And maybe we do want the Dazes if we're just going to go hard. Tough. Get rid of one of these Cyclers. That gives us 1 more cut. Let's try Ponder. Again, I don't think I've done this right. Maybe it's supposed to be the Lion's Eye Diamond, actually. The Lion's Eye Diamond does enable us with the Shallow Grave, though. But we're more on the Entomb. Let's try this Ponder instead. Sure. Right, we're on the play. What does our hand look like? We can find a card we want. The Lim-Dûl's Vault. I think we can keep this. Just someone asking about the channel. So, always take time out to plug yourself. Why not? So I think we're going to start out on a Ponder here rather than a Thoughtseize. Let's go for this Ponder. Now we have a lot of stuff here, right? This is a lot of things. Entomb is an interesting one. Dark Ritual is also an interesting one. We can Dark Ritual Lim-Dûl's Vault in the same turn cycle. I think we'll put the Entomb, then the Shelldock Isle, then the Dark Ritual. That might be wrong. So I think, yeah, so if we go 3 mana, so we have 4 mana total, so that's 1 for Thoughtseize, takes it down to 3, 2 for Lim-Dûl's Vault, takes it down to 1. So we need another Dark Ritual, really, for that one. But we can just wait. Okay, we don't really want to play this Shelldock Isle yet. So we will... Do we Thoughtseize Lim-Dûl's Vault here? We kind of need this Dark Ritual for our Lim-Dûl's Vault activation. Interesting. And the top card of our library is Entomb. So I think we will cast this Dark Ritual. Then we will Thoughtseize our opponent. So we can Lim-Dûl's Vault and... yes, we can Lim-Dûl's Vault and Entomb if we want to. A Brainstorm. Okay, opponent. If they've got something like a Rest in Peace, they could be doing all that sort of stuff for us there. Let's see. Daze Undoing, Pyroblast, Surgical Extraction, Flusterstorm. A lot of stuff here. I think we're going to take the... The problem with Surgical Extraction is Lim-Dûl's Vault. If they surgically extract us, it just kind of ignores our entire Lim-Dûl's Vault plan. So I guess we're going to take the Flusterstorm. And then we're going to cast this for this mana. Yes, I would like to have a look at some different cards. Any order's fine. Yes, we'll pay life. Any order, whatever. We're going to shuffle before then. Shallow Grave, Entomb, Flusterstorm. There's a lot of stuff here. No, we'll keep these on top. So, what's our plan? So, the Entomb isn't great for us here. So I'm going to put the Tomb on top. And we don't really want the Shallow Graves either. We do want the Doomsday and we want the Flusterstorm. And then we'll use the Shelldock to clear the other cards. I don't think I'll play this turn very well. If they say to extract, we can just get the Doomsday here, is the plan anyway. No, we put Flusterstorm on top, didn't we? Oh dear. Oops. Yeah, we made a mistake there, haven't we? That was the mistake I made there. Let's cycle this. Yeah, we put the Flusterstorm on top, not the Doomsday. That was a bit of a misplay there. Oh dear. We've lost our Dark Ritual. We have this Emrakul that we can't do much about, but they don't have removal for our guy. They can't interact with the black spells now. They do know what we have in hand. They didn't play a land out, did they? Oh my god, we're so good at this game, right? Are we supposed to be Shelldock Isling now? I think so. This is not great for us, but let's see what we find. Echoing Truth, Doomsday, Thoughtseize. I don't mind having a backup Doomsday in case things go very pear-shaped for us. We need to find a black source so we can cast that Doomsday. And we can Flusterstorm to protect it. And then if they manage to mess with us, we can then Doomsday again. Yeah, it's a weird one. If I'd have played this game better, maybe we could be winning-ish now. But okay, so we have an Underground Sea. Opponents played out the planes the Flooded Strand we knew about. So we got one mystery card. So I think we are going to put a Doomsday on the stack. Alright, so that resolved. Interesting. So I would like to have a Thassa's Oracle, a Cavern of Souls. We don't have any way of drawing multiple cards here, which is kind of the issue. We can just do a slow pile, so we can have an island as well. And a Thoughtseize. And then one Brainstorm. And the Brainstorm feels pretty awkward in the face of the Pyroblast though. So, we want the island on the bottom. Oh wait, no, we can still mess with this pile if we want to. So, how many turns is this going to pass? So, we'll go... Our Brainstorm's not going to resolve, is the thing. None of our spells are going to resolve like that, are they? So, maybe we don't choose this Brainstorm. And we just go for more Thoughtseize. So, we're going to be on 13. Yeah, that's fine. Sure. We'll say done here. So, we will put an island on the bottom. Then the Thassa's Oracle. Then the Cavern of Souls. Then the Thoughtseize. And the Thoughtseize. So cracking this. They might be trying to do a Daze Undoing against us here, which is a weird one. Shuffles and draw 7. So that would kill us, right? So the hand, graveyard, and library. So we've got 5, 6, 7, 8 cards. So that wouldn't kill us. That would just win us the game. So they shouldn't be casting a Daze Undoing here. So I think we just start in with the Thoughtseize here. So the Mystical Sanctuary, the Surgical Extraction on top of their library. Interesting. Sure. Force of Negation. I can Flusterstorm this. If we Flusterstorm this, they Surgical Extract a Doomsday or the Thoughtseize. The Thoughtseize is pretty annoying if they do that, but it gives us one less card in our library to draw through. Yes, we will do this. We do still have a Doomsday that we can fire off. Same targets, all these. They knew we had this Flusterstorm though. Alright, so we'll take the Daze Undoing. We'll just... so we left them with Plains and Pyroblast here. And we know they've got a Surgical Extraction here. So we just don't have to do the Thassa's Oracle until we have no cards in our library. And then the Pyroblast doesn't matter. There's Plains that we know about. So we know that both the cards are in our opponent's hand. If things go horribly wrong, we can Doomsday. Surgical Extract on the Thoughtseize. So this is going to reduce the number of cards in our library, which is pretty good. Like, there's definitely better ways of playing this if you're a Doomsday player and know what you're doing. So we'll play out our island, and we'll pass. Our opponent is not pressuring our life steal. The worst thing they can do now is make a creature. That's probably game over if they do. So we have Thassa's Oracle. We won't cast it this turn. We'll cast it next turn. Off a Cavern. With no cards in our library. There's Plains. Oh, Christ. Okay, this is fine. It can find something that might not be fine. But I'm not sure what that would be. No, I don't know what they can have here. There's probably something. I probably made some mistake that means that they can get us. But we're covered from like Blood Moon. Actually, no, we're not covered from Blood Moon because of the Shelldock Isle. A Ponder, okay. So, yeah, we don't actually have ourselves covered from Blood Moon because our last land is a Cavern. But I don't think we can play around everything. Let's play this on Wizard. Let's go blue, blue. Make the guy. With no cards in our library. My opponent didn't side in their Blood Moons, which is good for us. Alright, so we are 2-1 after 3 rounds. Let's go to round 4. We keep winning die rolls, which is nice. We've got a cantrip and a Force of Will. We just need to find our other pieces. I think this is fine. The Consider can also interact with the Ponder quite nicely. I think we're just going to get a basic island here. Just show our opponent a classic. Oh, wowzers. We don't want the Griselbrand, so that can go on the bottom. Then we'll have the Delta. Then we'll have the Vengeance, so we'll draw the Vengeance. And then next turn we can shuffle away the Griselbrand, and then we just need to find an Entomb. Actually, what am I talking about? We can consider it into the graveyard, can't we? That's pretty sweet. It's a pretty sweet line. That does cost us our blue card, but I think I can live with that, as it's going to be Chalice. Chalice of the Void. I don't think we're beating Chalice of the Void here, are we? Shame we don't have another blue card, really. We'll say no to this. Alright, it's 8 cast. Understood, opponent. Bauble. Alright. We're also a long way from drawing and discarding cards now. So we can't use Entomb or Thoughtseize to put our creature in the graveyard. How are we going to put our creature in the graveyard? That's the thing we have to ask ourselves right now. Let me just check the deck list. Okay, so our options are Lion's Eye Diamond or draw until we discard. Those aren't great options, are they? We don't have any cantrips available to us, so how likely are we to find our singleton? Probably less likely than we are to draw up to 8 cards. So I think we're just going to draw up to 8 cards, discard Griselbrand, and then Goryo's Vengeance, and see if we can get something done there. Like, once we get a Griselbrand in play, things should be a lot easier, because that's what Griselbrand does. But we're going to have to get there at some point. So we've got 4 cards in hand now, so we need to go through 4 draw steps, which is a little bit yikes. Seek to the Synod. If our opponent's got like anything here, we're in trouble. Yep, that's certainly a thing. Our opponent doesn't know what we're doing though, which is interesting. The fewer cards we can show our opponent on the way to us losing this game, the better. Now, if they don't kill us by the time we get to do our Griselbrand thing, then we might be okay. But we're not going to be able to draw many cards, I don't think, because we're going to be pretty low on life total. They've seen Children of Korlis in our hand from the bauble. That's a bit unfortunate. That's probably going to tell our opponent what we're up to. So Doomsday does get around Chalice of the Void for 1. So we're definitely looking to transform for this matchup. Chalice for 2. Yeah, I think we're done here. Alright. Not the most exciting game. I could have played a little bit longer and shown them some more cards. But they saw the Children of Korlis, so any discerning Legacy player should know what's up there. So we'll get rid of the whole package here. Get rid of our Entombs. We'll bring all of this in, and we'll just be a Doomsday deck. I think even in game 3 we should just be a Doomsday deck because we're so cold to Chalice. Flusterstorm works under Chalice quite nicely because the copy still happens. It's a trigger when you cast it. So not ideal, but it's still good enough. Alright, we have a bit of protection. We just need some mana, and we have a ponder to try and find that. So I'm going to keep this. We don't need to worry about our land getting wastelanded, so we can get an underground sea here. Our opponent also kept 7. I don't really like this Lim-Dûl's Vault. It's probably going to be the thing we pitch, because we already have 2 of the things we need. We could try and just smash out a Doomsday right now. Yeah. Always be Doomsdaying. Okay, we're in. Okay, I would like 2 Thassa's Oracles in case this goes wrong. I would like a Cavern of Souls, and I would like some cantrips here. So, what do we want? Do we need an island? I don't think we need an island. Maybe we need an island? And a Street Wraith? Sure. So, maybe we weren't supposed to get this island. Let's put the island on top. Then it's an Oracle. Then it's another Oracle. Then it's a Cavern. Then it's a Street Wraith. And we pass the turn. Maybe that island's not supposed to be there. I don't think our opponent's going to mess with our land in any way. There's a Mox Opal. An Emery. That's fine. Haywire Might doesn't hit land, so that's fine. So we have a Street Wraith here. We could cast a Ponder to get deeper into our pile by 1. And that will save us a turn. I think we'll do that. So I'll put Oracle, Oracle, Cavern. This just means that we can try next turn if you want to. We have Daze and Force of Will back up. Trying to think what we actually care about here from our opponent. Not a lot. Like Otawara can set us back, but we have double Oracle as well, just in case we need that. We can empty our library relatively easily. I think we're fine. Oh, Lotus Petal, sure. You can have a Lotus Petal. We just want to stop the one thing that interacts with what we're doing. There's an Ancient Tomb. Our opponent's life total doesn't really matter, so they can happily dump a load of life into casting spells. What are we looking at, opponent? 4 mana. A Chalice of the Void for 2. This does shut off our Daze, but does that matter? No, I don't think it does. Another Mox Opal, sure. Another Emery. So they're digging. I think we should have this game. So we've got 2 cards left in our library. We'll play this on Wizard. Say okay. Blue. Blue. We have 2 cards in our library. This has got 2 pips on it. This can't be countered because of the Cavern. And we win. Sure. So the Doomsday plan worked quite well there. I don't think we want to go back to this. It just feels so weak to Chalice. So we're going to stick with what we've got here and go again. Our hand is Thoughtseize, Thoughtseize, Doomsday. That seems okay. Chalice on 1, pretty bad news. But if they don't have the Chalice, okay, this might not be a Chalice. Tormod's Crypt, okay. So they've kept in some hate for us. That's lovely to see. Personal Tutor. Right, so this is Thoughtseize tagging our opponent. They've mulled to 6 as well. Now we get to take some stuff out. We'll take out one of your Force of Wills. So those are the cards we knew about. Just leaving the Force of Will in the opponent's hand. So they can make some pretty hefty Urza Saga tokens here. Is that something we need to be concerned about? Is the answer, is the question, I guess. How concerned about it should I be? I think we do still Thoughtseize our opponent here. Let's Force of Will and leave them with Soulguide Lantern. And we will cast a Personal Tutor. So we probably want to put an Edge of Autumn on top of our library, because that's going to give us another free look through our pile. Then we can do a Consider pile. Basically, we need to go on the next turn. Like when we Doomsday, we get one more turn. No, do we even get another turn? Are we just dead? Tough. Edge of Autumn's like a freebie. Maybe we want just a Ponder here. We may just be dead to the Urza Saga beatdown, I think. Trying to kill on turn 4 is just going to be too slow. Our hand was very good against a permission heavy one, but it's very bad versus the Urza Saga start. Yeah, so if we cast Doomsday, we die. So we have to cast Doomsday and win on the same turn, which is not going to be very easy to do. So if we cast Doomsday next turn, we die. If we don't cast Doomsday, we also die. Yeah, I think we're just dead to this. I think we can scoot this one up. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Maybe we're supposed to go play that one a little bit differently. I don't know. I don't really know. We couldn't really play it any differently with how our opening hand was. We just had a... If our opponent is on anything but turn 1 Saga, we're probably okay. And our opponent had the thing that beat our hand. Our hand was also a little bit weak to Chalice. So there were definitely 2 angles of attack that beat our hand there. And we kind of played into one of them and got crushed there, which is a bit unfortunate. All right, we've got one more to go. We are 2-2, so let's see if we can get the positive record. Once again, we're on the play. Our opponent is a Yorion deck. So we only need mana here. So if our opponent's Death and Taxes, we might be able to get this one done. So I'm going to keep this and lead out with Island Ponder. Our opponent's mulligan to 6 cards. So they're probably going to be Death and Taxes, but they could be like the sort of 4 to 5 color Yorion control deck. I say it's kind of control-y, a lot of value. All right. Just a humble island. Nothing suspicious going on here. Let's ponder first. We don't really want any of the... I guess we want the mana, actually, but we don't really want to draw the Children of Korlis here. Let's put this back, and this back, and this back. We'll not shuffle our library, and we'll draw this. All right. So our opponent's turn. Let's see what they come up with. A Caracas. A pretty good one. Ether Vial. That's also a pretty good one. This sets us back a whole turn if we counterspell this. But if we don't counterspell this, the Caracas is never going to be tapped. So we're kind of in a bit of a bind there. I think we've got to work on getting their Caracas tapped here. So we're going to draw this Children of Korlis, which I guess we can Brainstorm away. But we know we don't want the card underneath it as well. So we're going to have to draw another card rather than doing an end of turn Brainstorm. Rishadan Port. Alright, opponent, understood. Let's do a Brainstorm. Okay. We're going to draw one of these again anyway. So I guess we put the Lion's Eye Diamond back. And then we'll put the Children of Korlis back. We'll draw this Children of Korlis we don't want. Play this out. Interesting. We're definitely shuffling here. But what we can do is we can shuffle this into a swamp and try and get our opponent that way. Although if we end a turn Entomb, we can just always Shadow Grave. But we need our opponent to tap down their Caracas, so we don't really want to do that. There's a Wasteland. Okay. If they tap down their Caracas, then we win the game, I think. Well, it depends what they tap it down for, right? I guess we can Force of Will Athalia. A Recruiter of the Guard. We don't care about this. If it's a Solitude, we can counterspell the Solitude. we just have the game won, I think now, right? Because we Entomb, untap, Shallow Grave with Children of Korlis off of our Scrubland. It's going to be very difficult for our opponent to beat us drawing 28 cards. At least I hope it's going to be very difficult for our opponent to help beat. We do have Force of Will to back that up with as well. So, what are you looking for, opponent? That's going to be too slow, I'm afraid. Let's crack this now. 4 Underground Sea. Make some black mana. Cast this Entomb. Put a Griselbrand into the graveyard. Untap. Draw for turn. Deploy this. Cast this Shallow Grave, leaving up our white mana. Get you? Sure, so we'll draw 7 cards. And then we'll draw another 7 cards. Then we'll pay Children of Korlis. And we'll sacrifice this, which gains us life equal to life we've already lost this turn. What have we got in our hand? We got a lot of cards here. Have we got a second Entomb kicking around? We don't, so we will crack this for another 7. We're just looking for the kill now. Got another Goryo's Vengeance. There's an Entomb. Okay, so we can play out this Lotus Petal. We can cast a Dark Ritual. Have we got another Dark Ritual in here? We do. Let's cast that as well. Let's Thoughtseize our opponent just to see what's going on over there. Ephemerate, Flicker Wisp, Recruit the Guard. Yep, they got nothing. It doesn't matter. We'll take that. And we'll cast an Entomb. We'll put this Emrakul into the graveyard. And we'll cast this Goryo's Vengeance, targeting this legendary permanent. Shuffle our graveyard in. Go to attacks. Attack our opponent for everything. Annihilate to 6 all your permanents and deal lethal damage. Alright. Maybe one more game to win and then we're done. Do I want to play the Transformational sideboard here? I think we do want to play the Transformational sideboard. But I don't think we want the Flusterstorm. So we'll take the Flusterstorm out and leave an Emrakul in, which we can put underneath our thing. I'm not sure what Graveyard Hate our opponent's going to realistically have here. But hopefully we'll get a good impression of that in a second in this game. So there's a pile of 14 that goes. I don't think the Flusterstorm is worth having here. I think just having the Emrakul Shelldock plan might be okay. But obviously Emrakul Shelldock is pretty bad versus all their land destruction, like the wastelands and things. So maybe we're not supposed to do that. But what else are we going to have here? Like Cabal Therapy? That feels pretty weak. I think we'll just submit and see how we fare. Let's try and turn 1 Doomsday and kill our opponent. Our deck can do turn 1 Doomsday kills. Requires a select few cards. So we need like land, Lion's Eye Diamond, Doomsday, Dark Ritual, a Cycler of some description. So we need quite a specific set of draws to do the turn 1 here. Because you need to like put Doomsday on the stack and then you put a cantrip on the stack, crack your Lion's Eye Diamond in response, and then you can cycle through your pile with your mana up. So we'd also need a Lotus Petal for that as well, actually. So we need 6 cards. So give me those 6 cards, please, I guess. There's a lot of cantrips, but where are we going with these cantrips? Our opponent's mulliganed. We do have a counter spell for the Thalia if they don't hit it, and we could get a turn. We can't really do a turn 2 Doomsday because we need the mana. I think we do keep this, and we use our cantrips and our Force of Will to kind of keep things in check. Hopefully our opponent's mulliganing to Graveyard Hate, and we just kind of get to go round them with these things and maybe counter the one thing that isn't Graveyard Hate that they do that's worth doing. Yeah, okay, so there's a Leyline in the Void. I thought that might be something our opponent could have. Wish they'd have gone a little bit deeper to find it, but I'll live. Alright, so we want a basic island here because our opponent destroys lands. This doesn't get a basic island, does it? So this just has to be an underground sea, doesn't it? So let's cast a Ponder. A Brainstorm is good. We don't want this Emrakul. We don't have a shuffle effect here. So I think we're going to go... Well, we can preordain it away, can't we? There's the thing. So if we put the Emrakul here, and then the Force of Will and the Brainstorm, say no to this, then next turn we can preordain and shuffle away the Emrakul. I would like another land, though. We should have played out our Lotus Petal so that we can get around Athalia. Okay, Rishdam Port. That's not so bad. We don't have a shuffle effect. We're just going to fire off a Brainstorm here. We know the top 2 cards of our library. I guess we will fire off a Brainstorm. It's more or less free here. So we put this on top, and then a Force of Will. Then we'll draw the Force of Will. And then we will Lotus Petal. Let's Preordain. Put this on the bottom of the library. Put this on the bottom of the library, I think. And we drew a Doomsday. So we will play out a land so our opponent doesn't know that we're hurting for lands. This also means that if we draw a black source, next turn we can cast a Doomsday, and we do still have 2 Force of Wills protecting it. So we're in an okay spot as long as we can get around our opponent's bits and pieces. A Stoneforge Mystic. This represents a reasonable clock. So I'm going to say no to this reasonable clock. I'm pitching Lim-Dûl's Vault because I don't think our opponent can interact with this Doomsday. It's just going to happen. A Cauldron can certainly race us underneath a Doomsday, so I'd very much like to draw a black source here. It's not the one, is it? Let's try out this Brainstorm, looking for... Okay, we found some good stuff. So we would like to put this Cavern back, and I kind of want to keep this, which means we're probably getting rid of the Thoughtseize. So we'll crack this now. We'll go and get a basic island. So it's out of our deck. We will cast a Dark Ritual into Doomsday. Our opponent's probably not going to see this coming. Alright, so I would like sources that let us play this game around what our opponent's doing. I think we'll have 2 Oracles at the bottom 2 cards. We'll have a Lotus Petal, and then we'll have a couple of Street Wraiths. I wouldn't mind an Edge of Autumn as well. Though sacrificing our land is a little bit dicey, isn't it? Yeah, we'll just take this Street Wraith. Say done. So we'll put Oracle, Petal, Oracle, Street Wraith. And we'll pass. There's definitely a possibility I messed up this pile. I've played Doomsday twice. Once was a Death Shadow Doomsday hybrid deck, and the other one was when I had Doishi assisting me when I did a special guest stream. So we do have a reduced Doomsday pile selection as well. Okay, Caracas. That doesn't impact us here. We can play around the port. I'm going to just port one of our blue sources down. I'm going to port down our Scrubland. That is the one that I don't think you should be porting down, but sure. And we will just simply pass the turn here. We don't need to do all our stuff just yet. Our opponent doesn't have a way of putting a Spirit of the Labyrinth into play before we get to cycle our Street Wraiths. We also have Echoing Truth or Force of Will backup. No play from our opponent. Interesting. So they're holding up potential hard cast Solitude here. Alright, no, they're just tapping down our white source. Interesting. So we can cycle into the win potentially here. So let's cycle and cycle again and cast this. We do have a Force of Will to protect this. If our opponent has a removal spell for this, we don't get to win. Not right now. Swords to Plowshares. We can counterspell this. Whoop. Do you have an Endurance or another Swords to Plowshares? Or do we win the game? Sure, we win the game. So the Duke was successful pretty much every time we did it. So we got a 3-2. Positive record. We definitely lost one of the rounds because I mis-sideboarded for the final game. And it didn't go well for us. So, and the game we lost against 8cast, we had a hand that was a little bit slow, but was very good against the blue side of their deck. But they just had like a a smasher in the face as a Saga hand that we couldn't really beat. They were making Sagas on turn 2, Saga tokens on turn 2, and then they could basically kill us on turn 4, and that was a turn we were trying to go off. So we had a slow hand that we relied on protection with. So, I mean, the protection wasn't very relevant. So what do I think about this deck? Well, the sideboard juke is incredibly good here because your opponents are putting in things like ley lines and stuff like that. So they want like the quicker you kill them turn 1, the more likely they are to bring in turn 0 disruption like that that's going to force their hand into mulliganing. And then you just completely blank that with the juke. And that felt really strong. The initial Tin Fins plan is pretty potent, I think. I don't think it's as good as Doomsday. I think Doomsday is the better plan, but Doomsday juking into Tin Fins doesn't work as well because the sideboard hate they're bringing in is probably going to be good against Doomsday and Tin Fins, so they could have things like Flusterstorms and counterspells of various descriptions, stuff like that. Whereas the Graveyard Hate is very much not going to affect your Doomsday plan. So this is the right way round to configure this transformational sideboard. And Tin Fins is powerful, but it's not always good enough. But I think as a Game 1 deck, it's pretty fine. I think it's not a very good Game 2 and Game 3 deck. So maybe we're just supposed to be permanently on the Doomsday plan. Now, my issue with this deck is that because we have a transformational sideboard, we only have 2 sideboard slots. Now, that's obviously just going to happen when you play a transformational sideboard, right? There's not really any way of getting around that. It's just a thing you have to take on the chin and say, well, I guess we just got to hope the juke is good enough. And most of the time it is. I think the problem comes when you lose game 1. If you lose game 1, it becomes very difficult to have the game 1 plan, because basically we're playing 2 decks that are really good in game 1. Like Doomsday is still pretty good in game 2 and 3 in a proper Doomsday deck. We don't have quite as many tools here, but I think both of these decks generally are expecting to win game 1. Both of the 2 decks that we can transform between, which means when we are losing a game 1, that massively puts us in a bad position. I think, given what I've seen, it's going to be easier for us to just play the Doomsday Duke and stick with the Doomsday Duke for game 3 as well. But maybe there is a good half and half sideboard you can do. Now, I tried that in one of the rounds. We did win that round, I seem to recall, but it wasn't because I had this really cool ability to switch between the 2 things. Did we win that one? I'm trying to remember now. I think we won that one, yeah. I think that was round 3, maybe? I think we won that one. So, but it was just because we did our Doomsday thing and our opponent kind of let us get away with quite a lot in that round. Now, I don't think I played optimally in some of these rounds. Doomsday piles are notoriously difficult to make. So you could probably go back and have some better lines, and it's much easier watching someone else play and say, oh, that's what you did wrong. So hopefully you're looking at there and building upon what I've played today and thinking, oh, I can actually do this a bit better. But I genuinely like this deck. It felt better than playing regular Tin Fins, which is a deck that I've enjoyed on occasion. And this just feels like a better version because it's a very poor game 2 and 3 deck, in my opinion, the old Tin Fins. Now, you can juke into a show and tell package. So maybe we could be looking at some sort of show and tell plan as an alternative as well. But I do think the Doomsday sideboard juke is incredibly effective. Not entirely convinced about the Shelldock Isle. I think we could maybe cut the Shelldock Isle for another piece of interaction. Now, it may be a case that the Shelldock Isle is there for when you've got the half and half plan, if you know what that looks like. I don't know what that looks like, so if you have an idea of how to do a half and half plan here, by all means, please put it in the comment section. I would love to know. I can ask the guy who sent me this deck list as well and see if he's got a more detailed guide of how to do that, which I probably should have done before playing the league, but I wanted to sort of go in cold and have the experience of playing this for the first time just on the face-up information for you. I feel that's quite a good thing to watch as an audience member, and I spend a lot of time watching content myself of other people, and I enjoy seeing people approaching a deck for the first time and seeing how they puzzle it through. All right, I think we're done for that one. It's quite a fun one today. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything, so why not do it? And if you are interested in supporting me financially, you can Join the channel. There's various membership stages. One of the stages lets you submit donation decks to me. The other ones are just little cheap ones where you can just sort of say thank you by giving me like a couple of quid a month or £4 a month to vote on what content I make, sort of thing. And super thanks button if you just want to give me a little one-off payment. Obviously, you don't have to do any of these things. My content is always free to everyone. I'm not going to do any videos that are purely for members or anything like that. But members will get perks in terms of what videos I make. All right, I've rambled on enough now and I'm going to go to bed. So thank you very much for watching and goodbye.